Hello gamers, it's Tom Sidener, the Lonely Gamer, and I'm going to do an unboxing of the recently released Kickstarter of Massive Darkness. Now, if you were able to go to Gen Con this year, you might have got a copy of this, but you probably only got the retail version, which is what is in this box. But I'm going to show you what comes in this box and in all of these boxes that come with what I got, which was the Lightbringer Pack, or the Lightbringer level of Kickstarter. So anyway, let's go over it. I did also get one add-on. I only bought one add-on with the Kickstarter, and it was the crossover for Zombicide Black Plague, and I'm going to really quickly show you what comes in that. So in that, you get 3 packs of cards. You get the first pack of cards, which is this pack right here, and this is just a bunch of cards that let you use some of the figures that are in this Massive Darkness in your Zombicide Black Plague. These are the figure cards that go on your playboard, and it's got cards for a bunch of the figures that come in here. And I'm going to hold this up to the camera. There you go. That's what one of them looks like. If you've got Zombicide Black Plague, this should look very familiar to you. The other item that comes in here is a pack of cards, which are monster cards. These are monster cards for Massive Darkness, but these are monster cards for the figures that come in Zombicide Black Plague. So you can see there's some zombie walkers on the front of this card. I'll hold it up so you can see. You can see there's some zombie walkers on here, and those can be used in Massive Darkness if you wish. So there's a bunch of cards in here. Most of them are just monsters correlating with the figures in Zombicide Black Plague. The last thing is some character cards so that you can use the characters from Zombicide Black Plague in Massive Darkness. These are the cards that will go on your player board in Massive Darkness. And I'll go ahead and hold this one up so you can kind of see one of those and what they look like. So there you go. You can kind of see that really well. So that's what comes in the crossover pack. So that's the one add-on that I did buy and would not come with the standard Lightbringer level of Kickstarter if you purchased that. So if you didn't purchase this crossover, you would not get these 3 packs of cards. The other thing that came with my Kickstarter, which also should come with your Kickstarter if you bought it at the Kickstarter level, or if you bought it retail as an early printing, you should have got a deck of cards which are replacement cards for some of the cards in the game. There was a misprint for the game, and Cool Mini or Not had to reprint some of the cards. Unfortunately, this did hold up shipping for the US market, which kind of was irritating to a lot of people. I'm really lucky that I even got mine at all, because I moved 4 months ago, and 4 months ago I notified Cool Mini or Not and said that I had moved, I need to change my address, and even 4 months ago they would not let me change my address. That's kind of a point of contention for me with CMON. If I ever back another CMON Kickstarter, it definitely will not get shipped to my house. I do have a local game store that will allow you to kickstart Cool Mini or Not products through them, and I will be doing that if I kickstart one in the future. I cannot know 4 or 5 months in advance where I'm going to be, and so so that was actually a huge problem, and I wasn't sure if I was even going to get this. What I ended up having to do is I ended up having to have this delivered to a Walgreens that was real close to my old house, and then I had to drive over to that Walgreens and get it. But I was able to get it, and so crisis averted and everything's fine. But going back to these cards from the reprints, I'm going to hold up a couple cards here for the camera for you to see and show you what the issue was with the cards. So I'm going to hold these way up here on the camera, and you can see. So as you can see on this one, you can see right by my finger there's a little yellow dice on there. If you look at this card right here, you can see that you can't hardly see the yellow dice. It's there, it's really faint. I don't know if it'll pick up on the camera or not, but here you can see the little yellow dice really well. So what happened is some of the printings that they did, the actual dice got underneath the black color on the card, and so it didn't come through, and so what they had to do is they had to go in and move the colored printing to the top and reprint them. So if you bought this at Gen Con, or if you got this from Kickstarter, you should have got this pack of cards, and all you have to do is just go in and replace the cards that are incorrect, that are in the game, with these cards that come in this set. I've replaced some of my cards, but I haven't opened some of these, so I haven't replaced all of my cards. I'm going to actually just set these to the side for now, and we'll move on with the unboxing. So let's go ahead and start with the retail box. If you buy this at retail, this is what you should receive. If you bought this at Gen Con, this is what you should have received. It is a huge box, as a lot of Cool Mini or Not games are. In fact, this might be a bigger box than Zombicide Black Plague. I'm not sure. I haven't put these together, but this looks to be a little taller than Zombicide Black Plague. When we open it up, the first thing we're going to see in here is the manual for Zombicide Black Plague. This is a beautifully illustrated manual. It's got lots of color pictures in it and examples on how to play the game. It also has a lot of pages. It has 56 pages in the entire manual, so it looks like a really nice manual. If you want to kind of just get an idea of what it looks like inside of here, I'll go ahead and flip through just a couple pages just so you can get to see. In the back of this are also the scenarios. The first, I think it's 10 or 12 quests. Looks like 10 quests in here, so it does have the rules and the quest in the same manual. It also has a quick reference guide on the back of the game. I was playing a game the other day, I can't remember what game it was, and the actual quick reference was inside the back page like this. That was very, very hard to deal with because I kept having to flip the back open in order to get to the quick reference guide. So having it on the back of the manual like this is very nice. You can lay it on the table and then just kind of look at it when you want to. I remember it was Dragonfire. Dragonfire had their quick reference inside the manual, which made it a little difficult to deal with. So I'd much rather have the quick reference on the back of the manual, and that's what it is in this case. Looks like we also have a board of chits here. I'm going to hold this up to the camera so you guys can see. Really, there's not as many chits in this game as I thought there would be. There's only two boards of chits in here. And there's a handful of treasure chests. Looks like some columns. You've got these level markers which tell you what level you are in the dungeon. This is a first player marker, one of these is. And there's some health markers and stuff. But there's really, as far as these kinds of games go, I'm playing Sword and Sorcery right now. And there are hundreds and hundreds of chits in that game, and in this game there's only like 2 things of it. So that's kind of nice. Keeping the chits down to a minimum is nice. And I'm going to put these over here. The next thing we have is the actual box of miniatures here. I'm going to set this to the side and we'll go over this in a minute. Down here at the bottom we have the tiles that you use to play the game. I haven't opened these yet, but I'll go ahead and open them so you can see some of them. One of the basic concepts in this game are the light and dark forces that are going on in the kingdom. And so you can see this board has some light areas like this one right here and some dark areas like this one right here. And your characters have different abilities, whether they're in the light areas or the dark areas. And I'm just going to hold up some of these tiles to the up camera so you guys can get a look at what some of the tiles look like. These tiles really do remind me of the tiles from Zombicide Black Plague, or also Zombicide in general. I read some of the rule book. I haven't read the whole thing, but this thing seems to play very similar to some of those games also. There are a lot of tiles in this pack. I think there might be 9 or 10. And then also, I noticed in this other pack there's some tiles as well. These tiles are 2-sided tiles, so there are also tiles on the other side as well. So all of them have R side and a V side. I guess that's to coincide with Black Plague and maybe Zombicide. So there we go. Those are the tiles. We also have the combat dice that come in this game. I think this is one thing that I'm probably going to have to get more of. I've heard a lot of issues with the extra dice that you could buy. They had some marble dice and some frosted dice, and I think the marble dice have had some issues, so I'm kind of glad I didn't buy extras there, but I wouldn't mind buying some extras of these. Looks like you've got 4 different dice. I'll try to hold these up to the camera so that you can see them. You've got red, green, blue, and yellow. Looks like the red is definitely a fighting dice. It has a side with a single sword on it. It's got a double sword and a star. And then it's got 3 swords and a diamond. And that's it on the red dice. The blue looks like it must be a defense dice. It has a shield on the side. It's got a couple blanks. It's got a double shield and a star. And that's it on the blue. The green looks like it's another defense dice. So 2 shields and a star, a shield, 2 shields and a star, 3 shields and a diamond, and then a couple blank sides. And then the yellow looks like a smaller attack dice than the red one, so you've got single hit, single hit, single hit, single hit all the way around there, and then a double hit and a star, and then a blank. It would have kind of been nice if they would have done black inlay on this yellow dice. It would have made it a lot easier to see, but it's usable. I can see it okay, and I have pretty bad eyes. So those are the dice. Looks like you get 3 red ones, 3 blue ones, 3 green ones, and 3 yellow ones in the base game. Like I said, you may want to get some more of these if you know, you're going to be playing this a lot with a bunch of other people. Inside here, you also get a deck of cards. I've actually opened these cards because I went ahead and put in the cards that were from the reprint, but you've got different kind of cards in here. First of all, you've got your cards right here, which are your character cards. So they have your different characters on there. I can hold some of these up to the camera so you can see them. And I'll just go through them really quick so you can see some of the different characters that come in the base game. I think there's 6 in the base game, if I'm not mistaken. So that's the first set of cards. The next thing you do is you have greater roaming monster cards. I think those are the really big cards. These are the greater roaming monster cards, and these are some of the big monsters that you may have to deal with in the game. And so I'll just quickly flip through some of these so you can kind of get an idea of what those are. Those figures are in this box right here. Here we go. The next thing we do is we have the lesser roaming monsters. The lesser roaming monster cards are here. And I think these may be some of the same. Yeah, it looks like they're some of the same monsters, but with smaller stats. So they're still bad, but not as bad. And so I'll flip through those real quick as well. Looks like they're all exactly the same. The next thing you have is you have the monster cards for all the different levels in the game. And so we've got cards for the 5th level, which are Guard 5 cards. We've got Guard 4 cards, Guard 3 cards, Guard 2 cards, and Guard 1 cards. These are usually mobs in this game from what I've read, and so you'll bring out a bunch of characters with these, but I'll just go over a few. So we've got like the Dwarf Warriors, Goblin Archers here, Orc Flayers, so on and so forth. I'll go ahead and hold them up to the top camera just so you can get an idea. There's multiples of each one of these, so you can see there's several of each one. There's a different one, and then there's several of those, and so on and so forth. I won't go through all of these. There's a bunch of monsters in here, but there are different monsters from different levels. And what you do when you play this game is you set these out in piles based on their level. You can see the back. You can see this one says Guard 5 on it, and so you would set these out in Guard 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and depending on what level you are at in the dungeon, you would pick a card from that pile, and that would be the monster that you have to face. So that's all the standard size cards that come in the base game, and then you get a ton of these little cards that come in the base game. There's a pack here, and a pack here, and I'll go through what these are. So the first thing you have is you have some event cards. These are standard event cards like you'd have in any other game. They don't have any pictures on them. They just have writing, and they say stuff like this one says, spawn a guard, place the enemy in a zone with the token of the current level -1. So all these event cards are cards you just draw, and they would cause things to happen. The next thing you have is you have door cards. And these are cards that you would pull when you open a door, and they tell you what to do. They might say spawn a guard. This one says spawn a guard card, and you get 2 treasures. Or this one, or if you're at level 2, no enemy, 3 treasures, and at level 3, no enemy, 3 treasures. So they have kind of like the Zombicide Black Plague cards where you pull a zombie card. I'm assuming these are very similar to that, and depending on what level you're at, that's what you do, what's on the card. The next thing we have is artifact cards. These artifact cards are special weapons and stuff that you can get only from completing quests in this game, and so these are not normal treasures that you would find. I'll go ahead and throw these up to the camera so you can see what some of these look like here. just to give you an idea. But these are pretty strong weapons and strong armor and stuff like that. Then we've got a ton of these treasure cards, and they are also set up in different levels. So you can see that's level 5. So they're level 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And different treasures for different levels. And there's just a ton of these in the game. These are all level 5s right here. So there's a stack of level 5s right here. That's a stack of level 5s, and there's a stack this large for all the other treasures. Now, in the game, if you go to draw a treasure, let's say you go to draw a level 2 treasure and there's no level 2 treasures remaining, then you draw a level 3 treasure. Now, when you get to level 5 treasures, that's as high as you can go in the base game. So this game only goes up to level 5 on your characters. But if you run out of cards in the level 5, you reshuffle the level 5. But that is kind of a nice thing. So there's a ton of these. This is just more of the same. I'm not going to open this right now, but this is your level 2s and your level 1s, and this is another stack of treasures. So all of those I showed you, plus these 2 stacks, are nothing but treasure cards. And then in the game, you do the same thing that you do with the monster cards. You create a pile of treasures, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then you draw from the respective treasure depending on what level you're at. The last thing that's in this base box are these pads. And these are the class pads, and you pick a pad when you're playing the game. There are several of these provided for each class, so this is a whole pack of the same class. I think the book said there's 20 of these, and you can write on them with a pencil. The thing is, you can also print these out from CMON's website, so if you run out of these, you can always print some more. What we have in this base game is we have the Battle Wizard, we have the Paladin of Fury, we have the Blood Moon Night Runner, we have the Pit Fighter, Berserker, and we have the Nightshade Ranger, and we also have the Shadow Barbarian. So all of those come in the base game, and there's also going to be more of those in some of these other things that I open as well. So that's all the stuff that's in this box. The only thing we haven't looked at yet are the figures that come in the base box, so we are going to look at those now. Okay, so this is the box that contains all the figures from the base game. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. I think there's 3 trays of figures in here, so there's a ton of figures in this base game. I'm not going to take all these figures out, but I'm going to hold them up to the camera so you can see how many figures come in this base game. So here's the first tray. Looks like there's some orcs and some, looks like gnomes or something like that. I'd have to look at the cards to see exactly what they're called. But there are a ton of them in here, and I'm going to hold them up to the camera so you can kind of get an idea. The book actually tells you, if you go to CMON's website and you download the rule book, they have it available there. It'll tell you exactly how many of each one of these figures are in here. But there's a lot of each one. So there's the first tray. I'll hold up a figure here so you can just kind of get an idea of what the quality of the figures are. There you go. Now this is the second tray. This tray contains some figures, but it also contains your player boards. Here you get 6 of these player boards. You also get colored rings for your characters, and you also get colored pegs to go on your player board. There are, the player figures are here. The player figures are a different color of plastic. They're all a brown plastic, and you get 6 characters in the base game. You also have some more monsters on here. These are larger monsters, or some generals or something like that in the game. And then the last tray you get in the game is this tray of larger creatures. And these are your roaming monsters, and you've got this huge spider here. Pretty impressive. Looks pretty scary. I actually have a tarantula as a pet, and this spider is pretty comparable to the size of my tarantula, so it's a pretty real 2 size for maybe this spider. Got some other ones. You've got a Medusa looking thing here. Medusa looking thing here. Looks really good. So there's 5 large monsters in this tray. So that's all the figures that you get in the base game. You also get these player trays, which are really, really nice. It's one of the things that drew me to the game. It's one of the things that drew me to Black Plague. It's got a place to put your hero card here. It's got your 2 hands here and here to put your weapons for your stuff. I think it's got a armor spot here. It's got these holes here to keep track of your life, and then your experience points over here. So it's a really nice addition to the game. There's 6 of these, one for up to 6 players. And that's it. That's everything that's in the base box. So let's move on and look at some of the other things that come in it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is the Lightbringer Pack. This is the pack of things you get as a Kickstarter backer. It's all the Kickstarter exclusives. Not everything in this may be an exclusive. They may release some of this out to the general public because I don't know for sure at this point which things are exclusive and which are not. But it should say, if you go to the Kickstarter page, it will say what is exclusive. It says Kickstarter exclusive on it. They probably will not be selling it to the general public. Some of the stuff, though, could be sold to the general public in a tile pack or a character pack or something like that. But anyway, let's take a look and see what's inside of this. First thing you get is you get another book of quests. There's 6 quests in here. So you've got 6 more quests that you can complete. You've got 2 boxes of characters, which we'll go over in a minute. So this box here and this box here. You've got another pack of tiles. And it looks like these tiles have some lava on it, so that's kind of cool. There's probably some special instructions for using lava tiles. These are also R and V. I'll just hold some of these tiles up to the top camera so you can kind of get an idea of what they look like. I really like the lava on some of these. It looks really good. It looks like these R sides for this almost all have lava on them. If I flip it over to the other side, it looks like they got maybe some crystal caverns on this side, which looks really cool as well. So these are really nice tiles, and these come in the Kickstarter Lightbringer pack. You also get some cards in this pack. It looks like you get 3 more characters. These are 3 character cards you can use in the game. You get 17 greater roaming monsters. So it looks like this pack just adds a lot more baddies for you to fight. I'll hold it up so a few to the camera so you can kind of see. It's like a unicorn and quite a bit of other scary stuff that you're going to have to deal with in here. There's 17 of these, and there's also the lesser monsters, and I'm assuming that there's 17 of those as well, because it looks like the lesser monsters and the greater monsters are the same. So I'll just keep going through here until I get back to the unicorn, just so you can kind of see some of the things that are in here. There's quite a few. There's quite a few more than there are in the base game. So that's going to add a lot of scary big bad monsters for you to fight. So there's the greater ones, the lesser ones. Oh, looks like there's another greater monster in there as well. So there might be 18 of each. And that's it for the cards, for the larger cards. There are a couple of smaller cards in here. It looks like they're just artifacts. So you get it looks like 2 or 3 artifacts in here that you can also use in the game. Looks like 3 artifacts. And they probably go with those scenarios that are in this pack, the different quests that are in this pack. You also get a really nice dice bag that comes with this thing. It says Massive Darkness in it. It's actually embroidered onto it, and it's really nice. It's in kind of a silvery material. And you get one more class. This is the Bone Crusher class. So you get another class. Now, if you didn't buy this, I'm assuming that you can actually just print this out on CMON's website. So if you didn't buy, if you just got the base game, you could probably go to CMON, their website, and print out the Bone Crusher as well, because they said you could print all of these out. Real quickly, I'll show you the figures that come in this Lightbringer pack. Like we saw, most of them are probably just the roaming monsters. So here you go. Here's the first tray. Here's the unicorn figure, and so I'll just hold that up so you can just get a look at some of the figures in this. One of these figures I think is Lord Tusk, maybe, or maybe he's in one of these packs. Anyway, apparently Lord Tusk doesn't have any tusks, so a lot of people have been commenting on that on the forums. But there's the first one. Here's another one. Now this looks like a bunch of minions in here. So these are probably not roaming monsters. These may just be more minions from to go with your base game here. I'm going to move this out of the way so that when I hold these up to the camera they're a little easier to see. And here's some larger figures that come in here. There's some pretty impressive ones here. Look at this guy with the boulder. He looks like he would really work you over. We've got looks like maybe a multi-eyed boss here, and just some pretty scary stuff. I haven't looked through all the cards. There's just tons of cards, so I don't know what all of these are called, but it's pretty impressive. The figures in here are pretty impressive. So if you did the Kickstarter and you did the Lightbringer pledge, you should receive all of these figures. Now let's go ahead and look at some of these smaller packs that come with it. The first thing I'm going to look at is the Massive Darkness Chests and Pillars pack here. I'm pretty sure that these are just plastic versions of some of the tokens that came in the game. And now the game had very few tokens in it comparatively to other games, and this is just going to eliminate some of those, so that's kind of nice as well. So let's take a look at this. Yeah, here you go. So this is pretty nice. These are chests and pillars for the game. Alright, so here's the chests and pillars. Here's your pillar. These things are pretty impressive. They look pretty darn good. I'll hold that one up so you can see it. This would be a great thing to use with my print and play mythic battles, because there's some pillars in there as well. And here's some chests, and the chest looks like a normal chest, and then there's like 4 special chests here. Maybe these are for artifacts or something. But anyway, that's your chest. When I opened this, these went everywhere, so I had to cut a little bit of this video out while I actually cleaned up my mess. But once you get the tape off of here, then they're easy to open and easy to put the lid back on. We've also got the Sorcerers versus Lord Tusk. This is the expansion that Lord Tusk comes in, the Tuskless Lord Tusk, which everybody's been calling him. And so we'll go ahead and open this up and see what we got in here. It feels pretty light, so this is probably just a mini expansion. A lot of these things were opened up in stretch goals, so they're not Kickstarter exclusives, but they're something that's not going to be included in the base game. You have to buy something extra to get it if you're buying it at retail. I'm assuming that all of these look like retail boxes here, so I'm assuming that all of these are going to show up on retail shelves eventually. Let's open this up and we'll see what comes in one of these. So we've got a new class sheet. This is the Sorcerer, same as all the other ones. I think you can probably print this out. We get, looks like 1 artifact in here. It's this card here. It's a Sorcerer's Ring. Looks like we get the Lord Tusk figure, which he's right here. And he's a pretty good sized figure. And then we get the 2 cards for him, the greater roaming monster and the lesser roaming monster for him. I'll just show you one of them. I'll show you the greater roaming. There he is, Lord Tusk. We also get 3 new characters in this pack, and it looks like they're sorcerer characters. They're Ajax, which actually Ajax has a bad section on his card. I'm going to have to replace that one. Sarah and Silence there, and then their characters are in here. I'm not going to take them completely out, but I'll hold them up to the camera so you can kind of get a good idea of what they look like. Actually, having them in this box actually makes it a little easier for you to see because it's not see-through. So there you go. So that's what comes in the Sorcerers versus Lord Tusk expansion. Next we have the Noble Warriors versus the Cockatrice. I probably murdered that pronunciation of Cockatrice. I get a lot of flack from my viewers about my pronunciations of stuff. I'm from the Midwest, and even the people that I know call me a hillbilly, so I know I've got kind of a drawl when I speak, so I tend to mispronounce things all the time. So I apologize for that, but this one is the Noble Warriors versus the Cockatrice, and I think that's pronounced correctly. Let's take a look at this. So in here we have another class card. It's the Noble Warrior class sheet. We also have what looks like another artifact. So here we have the Noble Standard artifact, and then of course we've got some cards in here. We've got the Cockatrice cards. There's his card. I'm going to hold it up to the camera so you can see that. That's the roaming monsters That's the greater roaming monster, and then there's also a lesser roaming monster card. And then you've got 3 new characters here. We've got Azrael, Mila, and Zoe. I like Zoe. Zoe looks like a character that I play in Dragonfire. And then here are the different sculpts for those, the different heroes there, and then the cockatrice right down here. So let me get a look at those. And that's what comes in this expansion. And then last but not least, we have the Troglodytes expansion. And in the Troglodytes expansion, we have some cards, of course. So we have a Bloodseeker Minotaur figure in here, and we have the greater and the lesser roaming monster card for that. I'm just going to hold that up to the camera so you can see what that looks like. That figure is right here in the package. He's a pretty large, impressive figure. And then we also have a lot of regular enemy cards. We have Troglodyte Brutes, which are level 1, Troglodyte Warriors, which are level 1, Troglodyte Brutes and Warriors for level 2, Troglodyte Brutes and Warriors for level 3. We got Troglodyte Agent, which is a 4, and we also have Troglodyte Brutes for level 4 and Troglodyte Warriors for level 4, and then we also have Troglodyte Brutes and Troglodyte Warriors for level 5. And I'll just go ahead and hold these up to the camera just so you can get kind of a quick look at what they look like. I'm not going to go through all of them. Then you've got a double tray of figures in here. Here's the top tray, and I put it back in this box so it's easier to see with the white background, but you've got your Minotaur up here, and then you've got some of your Warriors and Brutes here. And here's the bottom tray with some more Warriors and Brutes and maybe a Troglodyte Agent or 2. So that's what comes in the Troglodytes expansion. And that's it. That's everything I got in the Kickstarter version of Massive Darkness. The one thing that they definitely got right is this is massive. I have not had a chance to play this game. In fact, you saw that I just opened some of the packs. The only thing I'd opened is the Lightbringer and the base game. I will finish reading the rulebook. I've read about 1/4 of it. I've kind of got an idea because I think the game is very similar to Zombicide Black Plague, but I know it's not exact. So I will figure out how to play, and I'll get to the table and play it. Once I have a chance to play this, I plan on doing a video series on a comparison between Massive Darkness, Sword and Sorcery, and Dark Souls, the board game, because these games seem very similar. So I'm going to play them all. I'm going to play them all with my buddy John and maybe a couple of my other buddies, and then we're going to evaluate the similarities and the differences between these games. And one thing I can tell you is all 3 have beautiful miniatures, so we'll kind of see how they compare. But anyway, that's Massive Darkness. If you kickstarted this and you don't have yours yet, I'd be surprised because I think I'm one of the last people to get mine. But if you haven't, and hopefully this video is helpful so you can see what you're going to be getting. If you never kickstarted it and you just want to see what all the hoopla was about, hopefully you can see in this video. So that's it. That's everything I have for you today. So until I see you again, happy gaming.